Hey guys, I've got a brand new tier list that'll help you decide who's the best hero to use in Dominion. In today's tier list, I'll show you a very quick breakdown of each hero, so it's pretty fast and easy. I am also making this tier list for more newer players, because I believe that any hero can be used pretty well in Dominion, if you play them right. This is just for those who aren't super good and are struggling in Dominion. And remember, this is just my opinion on who I think is the best hero for Dominion. I want to break down each hero out of these main categories. So first, let's start off with ganking. I want to see how good they are at ganking multiple opponents at once. And then the next is anti-ganking. How good are they at defending themselves while they are getting ganked? And lastly, feats. I want to see how good their feats are for Dominion, and those three major things will help me decide who's the best hero for Dominion. I will also be taking in consideration their AoE attacks and any other special feats or traits that a hero might have. So first, let's start off with the Knights faction. So let's start off with Warden. Warden definitely has good AoE attacks. He can dash forward, he can definitely deal out a lot of damage. His shoulder bash is super strong, especially when you can switch it against multiple opponents, which can be great for team fights. Warden has decent anti-ganking. It's mostly really just his shoulder bash. It's not too bad. Warden's feats aren't too bad, and they could be adding some new feats for Warden as one of the more recent updates, so look out for that. I would definitely run Morale Booster when playing Warden. That's a really good one. Overall, I'd put Warden as a Class A hero. Definitely not one of the best for Dominion, but he's definitely not S tier, but he's definitely not that bad either. He can definitely do a lot. So for Peacekeeper, I really only think she's really good for like duels in Dominion, but if she's going against multiple opponents at once, it's really hard for her. She's got some good dodge attacks and dash attacks, but I mean, like, if she gets pinned at all or stopped, she will take so much damage and die so quickly. Her feats are not too good either. She's a much better support hero. She's good at sneaking around and being a huge annoyance, but she isn't very strong in 4v4s, especially when it's a team fight. If there's any ganking going around, she's just not that useful, which is why I'm going to put her as a C tier hero. So now to the Centurion. Centurion doesn't have very good AoE attacks. He just can't hit so many opponents from a distance. He can close the distance with a dash attack or use his kicks, but that's really about it to at least close the distance. He's not bad at anti-ganking. If you're patient with him, you can definitely hold your ground for a while. You just need to focus on parrying. The only problem with Centurion is if someone hits you out of your mix-ups, it really just stops you from doing a lot more attacks and damage that you could. Centurion's feats are pretty good. I would definitely use Phalanx, which is an armor buff that gives you and all your teammates a shield. But overall, I would put Centurion as a B tier hero in Dominion. Alright, heading over to Blackprior. Blackprior has pretty good ganking abilities. He's got good AoE attacks. His best feature is definitely his Bulwark stance, especially when he uses the feat Healing Ward, which grants him to slowly gain health while in his Bulwark stance. But his most impressive ability is the Bulwark stance, when you can flip any enemy attacking you. He's a super great defensive hero. And Blackprior definitely has some of the best feats in the whole game. He can use Oathbreaker, which removes all shields from your opponents, including the ones even when you get revenge. He can use Regenerate or Morale Booster, and lastly, Speed Revive. All in all, he's got some of the best feats for 4v4s, which is why I'm going to put Blackprior as an S tier hero. Now over to Gryphon. He's got some great damage output, and he can definitely keep the pressure on. He's got some great AoE attacks. He's just a very strong attacker. For his anti-ganking, he's solid at defending himself, but could definitely have some strong defensive capabilities. I feel like he's better in duels because you can just do lots of damage while he's in his combos. And his feats aren't too bad, but they can definitely be better. Nothing too special besides Dragon Knight, but otherwise they aren't that great. So I would put Gryphon as a B tier hero. Now let's head over to Conqueror. Conqueror's AoE isn't very strong, but he can definitely throw out a lot of unblockable attacks. I would say he's mostly dangerous when he can just be shoved in the middle of a battle and he can just start throwing out a ton of attacks, especially when you switch up to different opponents. It really can just mess up people. For anti-ganking, I would say he's pretty good at anti-ganking. He's got some very good defensive abilities and counter abilities, but it's really still nothing compared to Blackprior. So his feats are not too bad. He has Heal on Block, which whenever you block your opponent, you gain health, and then you can also regenerate. And then he also has Regenerate and Speed Revive, so not too bad. But still, overall, he's not super good. I'd put him as a tier B hero. Alright, so next we have Lawbringer. Lawbringer has good heavies that are very strong, and his unblockables are so good for canceling and grabbing your opponent. And if you can master being patient with Lawbringer, you can get so many parries and do so much damage overall. So just take your time, and he's got really good defense. Some of Lawbringer's feats are very good. He's got Regenerate, which can help him stay in a fight for a long time. Body Count also helps a lot when you're playing Dominion. So just some good feats. Lawbringer, honestly, I think he's really good for Dominion, so I'm going to put him as an S tier hero. Now for Gladiator, he's got some good dashing attacks and he's very quick light attacks. If you're in a huge team fight and let's just say your opponent is out of stamina and let's just say your buddy is a gladiator, he can knock them down while they're out of stamina very easily with his toe stab. So he can be really useful while the rest of the team does a lot of damage to him. He's definitely not the greatest at anti-ganking. I mean, he's really quick, but that's really all he has. He's nothing like really special like that. If he gets pinned or stopped, he'll just get destroyed. His feats are not really good at all for Dominion. He reminds me more of like a hunter. He's good for like tracking and like finding someone, but for group fights, he's just not that good at all. Overall, I put Gladiator as a C tier hero. Now for Warmonger, Warmonger has some very good ganking skills. Her dash forward undodgeable attacks, her unblockable dodge attacks. She has some great AoE attacks. That's perfect for Dominion. Her anti-ganking is pretty strong. She can definitely hold her own. She's very good for dealing out damage, especially when it comes to feats. I would say use all of her corruption feats and you will just destroy the enemy, especially in group fights. Overall, I put Warmonger as an A tier hero. Okay, let's head over to the Vikings. Let's start off with Raider. Raider has some very good ganking abilities. His hyper armor, AoE attacks, and damage is just super strong. He can definitely hold his own pretty good. His zone is very useful, especially when you get revenge. You can just keep spamming it again and again and just psych them out, or throw a bunch of lights, and a lot of times that can really just mess up when you're in team fights. His feats are pretty good. He's got Fire Flask and Battle Cry, and Spire will help him a lot for clearing minions. Overall, he's pretty good. I definitely put Raider as a tier A hero. Now for Berserker, he's got a great zone, and his hyper armor is almost unbeatable. He's got some great unblockable attacks, and his constant mix-ups can make Berserker super powerful altogether. He can just be an absolute menace for ganking. His hyper armor definitely lets him throw out lots of damage, but since he doesn't have great health, he can keep attacking forever if he loses all his health kind of quick. His hyper armor definitely lets him throw out a lot of damage, but since he doesn't have great health, he can't keep attacking forever because he can lose all his health kind of quick. His feats are decent, but I mainly see Berserker's feats are best for giving him damage buffs, which mostly help him in ganking with a buddy to do a lot of damage or dueling someone. Otherwise, they aren't that crazy. Overall, I put Berserker as an A tier hero. Let's head over to Highlander. So Highlander's attacking abilities for ganking is super strong. The damage output and dodge attacks and unblockables are so strong. You literally can't go wrong with that. I feel like with his defensive capabilities, he's not too bad, but if you have multiple people attacking you, sometimes I feel like it can be hard to use him unless you're extremely good with Highlander. But if you're just kind of casually playing, I feel like sometimes if people gank you, it's really hard with him. Throw a lot of moves out of. They keep hitting you out of your attacks. But again, his hyper armor helps him a lot with that, so he's not bad in that at all. His feats are decent, but nothing super special though. I'd say his feats are better for clearing out minions and getting to objectives for the most part. Overall, I put Highlander as an S tier hero. Let's head over to Warlord. I'll be honest, Warlord has some decent ganking abilities, but they're nothing super strong. He can definitely take a lot of hits and definitely can deal out a lot of damage. If you're patient with him and get parries, you can definitely do a lot of damage, especially with his hyper armor, which is really, really good. I would definitely say he needs some unblockable attacks and a better bash. One of the good things he's got is his All Guard, but that isn't anything very special compared to Black Friar or Varangian Guard. His feats are kind of the same. They are just kind of mid, nothing very special. Most of his feats are better for himself, and that's really about it. Overall, I put Warlord as a B tier hero. Alright, let's go to Valkyrie. Valkyrie is decent for 4v4s, but I'd say she's kind of balanced for 4v4s or 1v1s. I wouldn't say she's super strong in either, or to be honest. She's okay at defending herself. I'd say she's better with her full guard and AoE attacks, but otherwise that's about it. None of her feats are that special. I'd say the best thing she's got is Regenerate and Fire Flask, but other than that, they really aren't that good. I put Valkyrie as a B tier hero. Alright, let's head over to Shaman. So Shaman's got some great dashing attacks. I love how you can switch the angle of your attack like Orochi, and it's great for catching up to people who are trying to run away. She can do some decent damage, and when the opponent is bleeding, she can use her Predator's Hunger, which is great. But the only problem is if someone hits you or hits your opponent while you're doing it, it'll mess up your entire attack. Her defense is pretty bad. She can't handle fighting multiple opponents, I feel like, at all really well. She doesn't have terrible feats, but they're more like Berserkers. It more just helps with her own strength. Doesn't really help the team that much. So I'd say Shaman is a C tier hero. Let's head over to Jormungandr. So Jorm can definitely deal out a lot of damage. His AoE attack is okay, but I'd say his best feat is being able to put pressure on the opponents. To be honest, which he can do with his bashes and light attacks that aren't interruptible. Jorm can definitely hold his own decently, but you should really rely on your hyper armor and parries to get revenge, so you can throw your enemies to the ground and hit them with your hammer. This is especially good when you get revenge. I'd say really the only good feat Jorm has is his auto revive and Twilight of the Gods, which is basically just a feat where you hit the ground with your hammer and knocks any opponent on the ground, so nothing crazy. Overall, I put Jormungandr as a B tier hero. And lastly for the Vikings, we have Varangian Guard. She has great ganking skills. Her AoE attack is some of the best in the game, as long as you're not hitting your ally. She can definitely throw out a lot of damage, but she can definitely hold her ground though. Her superior block is super strong, especially when she can use her chain lights right after, which can lead into some more combos. Her feats aren't anything very special. I'd say they are pretty basic and nothing too crazy for her kit. Overall, I put Varangian Guard as an S tier hero. Alright, let's head over to the Samurai. So starting off with Kensei. Kensei has some of the best AoE attacks in the game, and his dodge attacks are very great for battling 2 or more opponents at once. He's got pretty strong defense, but still not top tier, and his feats aren't that bad. They're kind of similar to Raider and Warden, so nothing too special. Overall, I put Kensei as an A tier hero. Now for Orochi, he's got very good attacks. His dash attacks, dodge attacks, his kick bashes, and his deflects just make him so strong. He's definitely great at attacking the enemy and keeping the pressure on. Very good for ganking. He's so quick, which helps him a lot when you can throw out a lot of quick attacks, but he's also got a lower health, so it's kind of a give and take. As long as you keep moving, you can do pretty well with him. His feats are very good when it comes to attacking one opponent, but he doesn't have a whole lot to help out his team. Overall, I put Orochi as an A tier hero for Dominion. Now for Nobushi, I'd say the best thing Nobushi has is her AoE attacks, but that's pretty much it for ganking. It helps her, but she really needs a buff, possibly some unblockable attacks. She's not the greatest for defending against multiple opponents, unless she uses her hidden stance, but she's a much better duelist, to be honest. Her feats are okay, but she has more stuff for being a medic on the team, with her feat Stalwart Banner and Quick Revive. She's a great support player, but not very strong in Dominion. So overall, I put Nobushi as a C tier hero. Now let's head over to Shinobi. Shinobi doesn't have great ganking abilities. Lots of his moves rely on combos, and if your teammate interrupts that, it can definitely stop you. But if you don't and you time it right, it can definitely be pretty strong. His damage output isn't very strong either, which just makes it hard to really gank. He's got good dodge attack, so he can keep your opponents guessing while your teammates do lots of attacks. And his anti-ganking isn't strong at all. I'd say the best thing he really has is his double dodge ability, which is strong, but he's not great at defending himself, just mostly dodging. But that can be stopped pretty easily with guard breaks. And if someone does guard break you, multiple people can hit you at once, and it just really is devastating for him. And his feats really aren't that good at all for Dominion. He's got Nail Bomb, which is pretty useful, and so is Stealth if you're trying to capture lots of zones. Overall, I put Shinobi as an A tier hero. Now let's go to the most annoying hero of them all, Hitokiri. Hitokiri has some of the best ganking abilities. I mean, for real, if you have a full team of Hitokiris on one team, you're pretty much guaranteed to win. He's got some of the best damage in the game. His hyper armor helps him so much for constantly throwing out attacks. His dodge attack is great for team fights. Again, his hyper armor can help him so much with defending himself and just take the hits. I always find it so easy going against multiple opponents whenever I play Hitokiri. For Hitokiri's feats, he's got some great ones when it comes to 4v4s. He's got Deliverance, which allows you to not get interrupted when executing your opponent for his second feat. He's got Tainted Gift, which if you or any ally executes someone in a close area, you and all your allies get 50 health. And his last 2 good feats are Regenerate and Conqueror, if I even pronounced that right again. And that feat allows you to basically do an instant kill that can only be dodged or parried by your opponent. It's great for team fights. Overall, I put Hitokiri as an S tier hero. So for Aramusha, he's not very good at ganking, I'd say, at all. He doesn't have great AoE attacks, and he also doesn't do much damage at all. For his defense, I'd say the best thing he has is his good dodge attacks and his full guard, which is pretty good, but not that great for anti-ganking. Nothing like Blackfriar's Bulwark Stance or Varangian Guard either. Aramusha has some of the worst feats for 4v4s. He's just got nothing that special for it at all. Overall, I just don't think Aramusha is very strong for 4v4s. I think he needs a rework for that. He can duel pretty good, but that's really about it. Overall, I put Aramusha as a C tier hero. Now let's head over to big fat boy Shugoki. He's got some absolutely incredible damage. His AoE is amazing and he's just great for in the middle of a fight doing tons of damage. He can throw out a lot of damage and definitely take a lot of damage. He can be super defensive, and as long as you're patient, he can be very dangerous. I definitely say if you're group fighting and you get a parry, use that zone, it's super effective. Shugoki has decent feats. If you use Throw Farther, Juggernaut, Hard to Kill, Staggering Blow, or Regenerate, you can definitely make Shugoki a total tank hero. He'll be pretty much unstoppable and definitely a force to be reckoned with. Overall, I would put Shugoki as an S tier hero. Now we're on to Kyoshin. So for Kyoshin, I feel like he's not the greatest when it comes to offense, but when he uses his full guard, he can defend and definitely throw out some good attacks. I feel like his full guard is very good for anti-ganking. He's definitely got one of the best full guard in the whole game. His feats aren't anything super special for 4v4s. I mean, he's got Mugen Huyu, if I even pronounced that right. What it does, you summon spikes that can trap the opponents in a large area. Pretty useful, but that's really about it. Nothing super special other than that, to be honest. Overall, I put Kyoshin as an A tier hero. And last but not least for the Samurai faction, we've got Sohei. He's not very good at ganking. He's got decent damage, but I'd say your best bet is trying to get all 6 souls and then trying to use that on a different opponent if it's a large group fight. But one of your allies or a different opponent can definitely knock you out of that, so sometimes it's completely useless. It's better for dueling, but in group fights it's really hard to use. And for defending himself, he's not too bad. He's got good AoE attacks, which can help a lot, and he's got a ton of health, but he's super slow at attacking, so I wouldn't say he's super strong. Sohei has decent feats, but nothing too crazy. He's got good ones to help him get his health, and he can either use Regenerate or Soul Soother, so they aren't bad at all. But he's just really not that great for Dominion. So overall, I put Sohei as a C tier hero. Let's head over to the Wulin faction. Starting off, we have Tiandi. Tiandi is pretty good at ganking. He's got good dash attacks. He's also got his bash kick, which is very good for knocking down your opponent and dealing lots of damage when you do. He's got some great dodge attacks, which he can cancel, and that's great for defending against multiple opponents. Tiandi's feats sound super good. He's got morale booster, and that's about it. I wouldn't say he has anything that special. Overall, I would put Tiandi as a B tier hero. Next we got Nuxia. Nuxia isn't very strong at team fights, I feel like, at all. She's much better in duels. She just doesn't have a lot to give in Dominion. Her health is terrible. If she starts to get hit, she'll just get destroyed really easily. Her feats are decent, but only good ones I think she really got is Regenerate and Berserk, but that's really just about it. Overall, I put Nuxia as a C tier hero. Now let's go to Jiang Jun. JJ has some great offense capabilities. He can definitely throw out a lot of damage. I love his dodge attack, and I love how you can change the direction from where you're attacking from. His stance helps him a lot from getting hit, and it's great to use that for getting stamina. His feats are pretty trash, I'm gonna be honest. Nothing really stands out that special. They could be worse, but they could definitely be a lot better. I feel like he's better for claying out minions with his feet. But overall, I put Jiang Jun as a B tier hero. Let's head over to Shaolin. I'd say Shaolin has some pretty decent offense. His AoE is strong and he can definitely throw out a lot of fast attacks. His damage isn't great, but you can sweep your opponents, which is super useful for team fights. Shaolin can definitely defend himself very well. His AoE helps him hit who he wants to hit pretty well, and being so fast, it can help him hit multiple opponents quickly, so they don't have much time to react. Also, his dodge attacks are good, so that helps as well. Shaolin doesn't have very good feats, to be honest, at all. He's got some feats which allow him to teleport, but it doesn't always help that much, I feel like. Maybe if you're in a pinch and you're breaking, sure, but otherwise his feats aren't too good. Overall, I would put Shaolin as an A tier hero. Lastly, for the Wulin faction, we got Zhanhu. I would say Zhanhu is so good at ganking. Every second attack you throw is unblockable. Now, if your opponents can parry, well then maybe not the best to constantly let them go. To be honest, you can always cancel the attack and just psych them out. I love doing that in group fights. To me, that always works very well. He's okay at anti-ganking, but I mean, he's not great at it either. I feel like a lot of his attacks are better when you are ganking someone or in a duel, but going against multiple opponents at once, I've always felt is much harder with Zhanhu. His feats aren't super great. He's got a few feats that allow him to do some decent fire damage, but nothing special. Overall, I put Zhanhu as a B tier hero. Now to the Outlanders faction. First up, we've got Pirate. So Pirate has great ganking skills. Her feats, damage, and dash attacks help her a lot in ganking. You really can't go wrong with her in Dominion at all. She can definitely hold her own very well when she's getting ganked. What helps her is her hyper armor and dodge attacks and AoE attacks. She's also got some great feats. She can use Regenerate or Gunpowder Surprise for your last feat, and either one is very good. I would say right now she's just very strong in Dominion. Overall, I put Pirate as an S tier hero. Next, let's go to Afeera. I feel like Afeera is decent at team fights. She can dodge and use her crushing counter attacks from any direction they are attacking. It's a great thing to use, especially when you have multiple opponents attacking you. Her dodge attack helps her a lot and her mix-ups can definitely keep her opponents guessing. To be honest, I don't think her feats help that much at all in teamfights, besides Stalwart Banner or Regenerate, but that's pretty much it. I know I might get some hate for this, but I just think Afeera is B tier in Dominion. Don't get me wrong, she's an extremely good duelist, but just for Dominion, I wouldn't say she's very strong. Now let's head over to Medjay. Medjay has some of the best ganking abilities of all heroes. His damage output, hyper armor, and how he can switch stances, and that can help him a ton in teamfight. And for anti-ganking, he's got great hyper armor, which can help him a lot when attacking multiple opponents, and his AoE and his staff stance is so good. I just love switching stances because it gives you so many options in teamfights. Medjay has some good feats. Whether you use Scare of Relief, Astral Manifestation, or Thrilling Comeback, no matter which one you use, they're very good. Overall, I put Medjay as an S tier hero. Last but not least, we got Ocolotl. His dash attacks are some of the best. He's got some great dodge attacks and super fast light attacks, and his damage output is very strong. He's just super tough and is perfect for ganking on someone, and he's got some absolutely great pressure. His dodge attacks can definitely help him a lot in teamfights, and he has good health as well, which definitely helps in 4v4s. His feats are some of the best in the game for 4v4s. His Huntsman Spirit, which is so useful in 4v4s. As long as you don't get executed, you can roam around the map and place yourself in a perfect location so you can jump someone at the right time. And he also has Regenerate, which can also help if it's a long match as well. I just think Ocolotl is very, very strong for Dominion, and that's why I'm going to put him as an S tier hero. So this is the overall list, but I really want to hear from all you guys. I really like talking to the community, so you guys let me know which hero should be where on the tier list. Remember, this is just my opinion and it's subjective. I hope this has helped, especially those who are newer to For Honor. I hope to see you guys out on the battlefield. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and share with all your friends, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!